Truth cannot be seen with our physical eyes. If you want to see a spiritual truth, this sight, the eyes that you have in your body, they will not agree with the spiritual truth. I want to read a verse for you. 1 John chapter 4 verse 4. You are of God, little children, and have overcome them, because he who is in you is greater than he who is in the world. And here John is talking about the spirits and the false prophets and everyone. So here he talks, you are of God. That means we are of God. We belongs to God, and God is in us through the Holy Spirit, little children, and have overcome them. So if we are of God, then we have overcome. And if we are not of God, then that means we are losing. We have not overcome them. So then further he says, because he who is in you is greater than who is in the world. If we understand and if we recognize who is living inside of us, and Bible says, Paul says in Romans, the Spirit who raised Jesus Christ from the dead lives in you, but we don't understand it, because this physical things that we see and hear and all the things, they do not agree with the spiritual world. But if we want to agree with the spiritual things, we must have the eyes of faith, and we must look through the faith, and then we can understand the spiritual world. Otherwise, these things, outward things, they will not agree with that's who is living us. So if you want to see who is living in you, if you want to see Jesus living inside of you, you cannot see with these eyes, but you must have eyes of faith. He says, John encourages us like this: who is in the world? Devil or evil spirit, false prophets and false knowledge and false rumors, and everything that sickness and everything is lie, because of it comes from the devil and from the hell. But who is in us? Who is living? The Holy Spirit. Jesus is living in us. Father, they are living in us. Holy Spirit is living in us. And if we understand this, that who is living in us, so I want to give a small example. You have here, and you are very familiar with the David and Goliath. And David went to fight with Goliath, not with this watching with this physical eyes, because he was aware of that, not because of what he was, because he was only a shepherd and small child. But the Goliath was very big man and strong man, and he knew that who is living inside of him, God himself. And because of he was not comparing Goliath with David, with himself, but he was comparing Goliath with God, not comparing with himself. We must not compare ourselves with any kind of problems, because of we will lose. But we must compare ourselves that who is living in us and who we are. Then we must compare with the problem. Then they will become very small. Even if you have the long sickness and you are on the bed, but you need to compare your sickness with the price that Lord paid on the cross. If you compare with your sickness and your problems with who is living inside of you, not with you, then greater, then you become greater. That means you will see the problems and all the enemies and devil are very small before you. Because of it, before the Goliath, David was very small because he was looking with this eyes, what he can see. But Goliath was not looking through these eyes, but through the faith eyes, who was living inside of him. So I want to encourage you with this small message that who is living inside of you. Compare the problems and the things that you have. Compare with the word of the God, that promises of God. You compare with these things. Abraham, he compared what the Lord said, you sacrifice your son, but he compared his problem, his son with the Lord, and he said, no problem, he can rise my son from the dead.